Hello everyone, this is part 13 of What If Naruto Was the Hollow God, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Kyuki, Gaara as well as everyone else in the room who heard Tazuna's question, were looking at him as if he has grown a second head. None of them could believe that question Tazuna just asked. Are you serious? Kyuki stuttered. Tazuna sighed. Yes, he said. While it pains me to do this, as it means that I must leave the country I was born in and lived my entire life, it is something that has to be done. Unfortunately, the times are such that the Land of Waves would simply not be able to survive, even with us being a part of this alliance. Now it was time for Kyuki to sigh. She looked at Tazuna and saw a pained look on his face, showing her that he is truly in pain for having to do this. She then looked at Gaara, who only shook his head. Kyuki understood that he will not be offering his advice on this matter, and that the decision is on her. Kyuki sighed, again, and looked at Tazuna and his family, who were quiet and were waiting for her decision. Look, Tazuna, Kyuki spoke. I want to help you, I really do, but moving the entire country worth of people, even if that country is very small, is not an easy task. How do you even plan to move all those people from the Land of Waves all the way here? Also, there is simply not enough space in the capital here to house all of those people. I mean, yes, we can build new houses, start new businesses, and all that, but that will take some time, it just can't be done right away. Tazuna heard Kyuki's explanation, and knew that she was right. He didn't really like it, but he will admit she was right. Moving all those people will be hard to do. He was planning to ask Kyuki to use her flying ships to do it, and that might work, but the problem is still there, and that problem is that lack of place for all those people to live at if they move to the Land of Springs. How long do you think it would take to build all those houses? Tazuna asked. Months, Kyuki said. Maybe even over a year. It's a lot of houses. There is also a question of, what will all of you do once you get here? We are fishermen, Tazuna said. And this country is an archipelago, a big one, which means that you can start a fishing business, and export it to the other countries. It's something you are not doing right now, and I'm sure it will bring the country a lot of money. We can also work on the farms and the fields. I'm also a bridge builder, but I can build other stuff as well, and there are some people in Wave who are good at construction and carpentry, so we can do that as well. Okay, I like those ideas, Kyuki said. It still means that you and your people will have to wait for a while to move here. We have some free places in the capital where people can live in, but that's not enough even for 1/5 of the Land of Waves population. How about we send people to work on the houses? Tazuna asked, getting raised eyebrows from Kyuki and Gaara. As I said, we are good at construction and carpentry, so building a houses is an easy task. I can come here with some people, and we can stay at those places you said you have free. Once we finish the houses, then the rest of the people from the Land of Waves can move in. Kyuki sighed. How long would it take you to make all those houses? She asked. Tazuna though for a few moments, going in his head on how many people there are in the Land of Waves, and how many houses. After few moments, he said. I would say 8 months to a year. Kyuki thought for a while on what to say and do. She wanted to help Tazuna and the people of the Land of Waves, but to go as far as this, she is simply not sure on what to do. Before she could come to a decision, there was a knock on the door of the meeting room, drawing everyone's attention to the door. One of Kyuki's guardians, a male one, went to the door and opened it. He spoke to the person at the door for a few moments, before he closed the door, while the person on the other side stayed in front of the door to wait for Kyuki's reply. The guard moved to Kyuki and whispered something to her ear, causing her to raise her eyebrows. She whispered back to him, and the guard went back to the door, opened it and spoke to the person on the other side, who nodded, and vanished. The guard returned to his post, not saying anything, while the rest of the people in the room looked at Kyuki with raised eyebrows. Kyuki looked at Serafal, and said, it would seem that Alessandro Stark has sent 2 of his people to bring his reply to my message. Serafal heard this and rose her eyebrows in surprise. She was kind of expecting a messenger bird or something, but she wasn't expecting 2 people to come personally to deliver the message, especially since the Land of Spring is the northernmost country in the EN, and is not easy to reach. I wasn't expecting that, Serafal said, and Kiyuki nodded in agreement. Neither have I, Kiyuki said. Then again, this might be a good chance to see where we are standing with him. Why did you send a message to that guy? Gaara asked, as he was confused. He didn't see any reason for Kiyuki to send a message to someone unknown, even though that unknown had a hand in trying to save him and taking out two of the Akatsuki as well as saving Serafal's life. He told Serafal that he is building a country, and that if I'm interested, I can visit him to talk about a possible alliance. Kiyuki said, earning wide-eyed looks from Gaara and his siblings. This guy is building a country, Kankuro said in shock. How could no one notice that? You don't just build a country without anyone knowing about it. Kiyuki shrugged. I guess he is good in keeping things hidden. She said. And where is he building this country? Gaara asked. On an island where the land of whirlpools once was. Kiyuki revealed, getting raised eyebrows in return from Gaara. I don't know anything about that land, Gaara said, his siblings agreeing with him as they also knew nothing. It's a place where Uzumaki clan used to live, Kiyuki said. Gaara's eyes widened in disbelief, and he immediately thought of Naruto. The entire country was destroyed by the alliance of Kumo, Kiri and Iwa about 30 years ago. It was the destruction of that nation that started the Second Great Ninja War. I didn't know that, Gaara admitted. I didn't even know that there was an Uzumaki clan. The land was destroyed a while ago, and the Uzumaki clan was mostly killed off in the attack, Kiyuki said. The survivors were scattered all across the EN, and have mostly kept to themselves. But why would this guy chose that place of all places to build a country? Temari spoke for the first time. There must have been other places to choose and not a ruined country. I don't know, Kiyuki said. Maybe the land itself is worth a lot and he chose it for that, or he might have some connection to the Uzumaki clan and has chosen that land for that. Maybe he wants to revive that former land of whirlpools. But I guess we will not know until we ask him, which can only happen if we are to have a meeting and talk about the possible alliance. In fact, if we come to an agreement, then this would solve another problem. Which problem? Tazuna asked, though he had a feeling he knew the answer. Your problem, of course, Kiyuki said with a smile. The land of waves is south of the land of fire, while the former land of whirlpools is east of the land of fire. If we are to come to an agreement with Alessandro and form an alliance, then I'm sure the people of Wave Country could move to the land of whirlpools because it is much closer to them, and Alessandro is sure to have a need for people to live in his newly built country. Tazuna looked at his daughter and grandson, and saw that they thought that it is not a bad idea. He nodded at Kiyuki, indicating that he agrees as well. Now all that is left is to see if that alliance can be made with Alessandro Stark and his new country. Before anyone can say anything else, there was another knock on the door, and the same guardian from before walked to the door, opened it, and let inside Juvia and Suzumbachi. The moment the two walked into the room and everyone saw them, there were some curious reactions. Tazuna and Kankuro blushed and started thinking dirty thoughts about the two young beauties, while Kiyuki, Tsunami and Temari frowned once they saw how beautiful Juvia and Suzumbachi are. They were suddenly very unhappy with their looks, even though there is nothing to be unhappy about, as all three are very beautiful. The reactions of the guardians were unseen, as they all had masks on their faces. Serafal has already seen Juvia and didn't have any reaction, while Inari was simply too young to have any dirty thoughts, but even he can understand how beautiful the two girls are. Juvia and Suzumbachi stood at the side of the table, across from Tazuna and his family, and greeted Kiyuki and the others. Welcome to my home, Kiyuki said. I'm Kiyuki Kazuhana, the daimyo of the Land of Springs, and these are Gaara of the Sand, the current Kazekage, as well as his siblings, Temari and Kankuro. And here are Tazuna and his daughter and grandson, Tsunami and Inari. Kiyuki introduced herself and her guests, before Juvia and Suzumbachi did the same. It's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Suzumbachi, and this is Juvia, Suzumbachi spoke. We are here to deliver the message from Alessandro Stark. I thought that he will simply send a message via a messenger bird of something like that, Kiyuki said. I wasn't expecting that he will send someone personally to deliver it, considering that it's a long and hard journey to here. Well, we don't really need a messenger bird since we can personally deliver anything much faster, Suzumbachi said, getting raised eyebrows from many in the room. Which is why we don't even have one. And don't worry for us. It wasn't that hard to get here. Trust me. Okay, I'll take your word for it, Kiyuki said, though she really wanted to know how they can move faster from one place to the other than a bird. Suzumbachi then handed over the scroll, which contained a message from Alessandro to Kiyuki. Kiyuki took it and unrolled it, before she read it. After a minute, she rolled the scroll back, and looked at Suzumbachi and Juvia. He accepts to meet with me and talk about the possible alliance, Kiyuki said, earning nods from the two girls. Yes, Suzumbachi said. Alessandro was surprised that you would accept his offer to come and visit along with the talk about the alliance, though. He thought that it would take you more time to think about it. Kiyuki smiled. Well, I was really curious once I heard about him from Serafal, Kiyuki said. So, I wanted to meet him as soon as possible, and see if we can make some deal and make an alliance which would be beneficial to all sides. Suzumbachi nodded. Alessandro said that you are free to come whenever you want, she said. But he didn't think that you would be currently in the meeting with the other members of your alliance, so it could be a good idea for this meeting to happen right away. Kiyuki and the others rose their eyebrows. How? Kiyuki asked. We can't go to Whirlpool right away. Oh, you misunderstood, Suzumbachi said. I was thinking of Alessandro coming here right now. It won't take more than 10 minutes to bring him here. Okay. Now Kiyuki and the others are really curious about how they can move all the way from the land of whirlpools to the land of springs in 10 minutes. It's literally impossible, unless they can somehow teleport. How is that possible? Gaara asked. Can you teleport or something? Suzumbachi smiled. Or something, she said cryptically, with a smirk on her face, making Gaara narrow his eyes. And you can bring him here in 10 minutes, Kiyuki questioned, and Suzumbachi nodded. Both of us could. In fact, Alessandro could come here by himself, but since one of us would have to go back to Whirlpool and inform him, we could both come back in 10 minutes. Kiyuki thought for a moment if she should allow an unknown person to come to her land, but eventually decided to just allow it, as she was the one who sent that first message about the alliance, so in the end, she will have to put some faith in Alessandro and believe that he will not try to screw her over, or start a war against her country and the Sand Spring Wave Alliance. Okay, Kiyuki said. I allow Alessandro to come here, so that we can talk about the alliance between our lands. Suzumbachi nodded, and looked at Juvia, who nodded, and then much to everyone's shock, except Suzumbachi's, she opened the garganta right in front of herself and walked through it, the space-time portal closing behind herself, leaving behind a complete silence. The reason Juvia went to inform Naruto of Kiyuki's decision, is because she is not much of a talker, and can be really awkward sometimes, which is why Suzumbachi was the one who spoke all this time, while Juvia was silent. The reason she even came, was so that she can learn from Suzumbachi, so that in the future, she might be able to lead a mission similar to this one. Once Juvia left, everyone in the room looked at Suzumbachi, thinking about what they just saw. It was Kankuro who finally voiced the question everyone thought about, but no one asked. The hell was that? Suzumbachi looked at Kankuro and smiled. It's something Alessandro taught all of us who work with him, she said. Think of it as a high-level space-time jutsu, but only he and those like him can use it, and it's not something everyone can learn. What do you mean by, those like him? Gaara asked, wondering if this is Alessandro's bloodline, or he has some special powers, like those gained by Jinchuriki from their Biju. That is something Alessandro will have to reveal if he wishes so, Suzumbachi said. It is not my call to reveal stuff like that, and even mentioning as much as I did was as a sigh of good faith. Kiyuki and Gaara really wanted to learn more, but they were smart enough not to pressure Suzumbachi as they didn't want to risk her telling Alessandro about it, which can make him angry and would send the potential alliance to hell before they even started the talk. I guess we will have to wait and find out more, Kiyuki commented, and Suzumbachi nodded. I do have one question though. How is the building of the village coming, and are you searching for more people to live in it? Suzumbachi didn't expect a question like this one. She wondered why Kiyuki would ask that of all things. Yes, she can understand about the construction, but why would she ask if they are searching for more people to live in the rebuild whirlpool? The construction is going very well, Suzumbachi said. We are currently finishing the houses and are starting on the palace, the academy and few other stuff. She didn't mention the guild, as that would lead to more question, which she doesn't want to answer. It will be Naruto's job to answer those questions if he wants to. As for the people, Suzumbachi continued. We have a lot of people who are currently living there. They are mostly refugees from other countries which we run into during our journeys across the EN. But there is still a lot of room for more, and if necessary, we have a lot of space to build new houses because the building style is very unique and allows us more room to build in a smaller amount of space. I would certainly love to see how this all turns out, Kyuki said, and Suzumbachi smiled. You will be welcomed once the conversations are over and in case the alliance is made, Suzumbachi said. I do hope that the alliance is made as that would solve many problems for our side, Kyuki said and looked at Tazuna. Before anyone could say anything else, Garganta opened up again, and from inside, walked Juvia, followed by a man who made every female in the room blush crimson because of how good-looking he is. While the females blushed, the man narrowed their eyes as they looked at Alessandro. They noticed the reaction of the females, and didn't like it one bit, especially Tazuna, Gaara and Kankuro. The Guardians were actually very surprised that Kyuki blushed as well, since she has not shown any interest in man since they first met her. Kyuki, for her part, managed to gather herself and fight down the blush formed from the sight of the best-looking man she has ever seen in her life, and stood up from her seat. Welcome to my palace, Mr. Stark, she addressed to Naruto, who looked at her, and smiled in his mind. She is even better looking than she was 3 years ago. He then looked around the room and recognized the other who was seating at the table. The same goes for Tsunami and Temari. He smirked. This is going to be fun. Naruto approached Kyuki, took her extended hand, and gently kissed it. It's a pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty. Kyuki blushed at what Alessandro did, and couldn't even look him at the eyes, making his smirk slightly. The other woman in the room suddenly got jealous of Kyuki, and they wished to be the ones who Alessandro gave that kiss. The pleasure it all am mine, Kyuki stuttered. Please, have a seat, she pointed at the chair opposite of Tazuna and his family. And there is no need to address me so formal. I'd like to think that once we form an alliance, we can be close friends. Naruto smiled, as he sat down on the chair, with Suzumbachi and Juvia standing behind him, looking exasperated at the way the women were reacting at Naruto's presence. Oh, I'm most certain that we will be close. Naruto's words made Kyuki's face explode in blush. Every other woman in the room blushed as well, because of how Naruto's words sounded and the pictures they suddenly got in their minds. Naruto sat down, and waited for Kyuki to calm herself and fight down the blush, so that she can start the meeting, as this is her home, and she is the one who is currently leading the meeting. A minute later, Kyuki was calm enough to continue the meeting. As I'm sure you know, Kyuki addressed Alessandro. The alliance between Spring, Wind and Wave have been formed around 3 years ago. We have done so in respect for a certain person, who has helped all of us in one way or another, but also to protect ourselves from other countries, and to form trading agreement which would be beneficial for all of us. Naruto nodded. So far, he knew everything Kyuki said, but kept quiet and listened to see where she will go with this. Not long after the war started, and even now, it's still going, even though it's been years since the start. So far, Spring and Wave have been unaffected, but the Land of Wind has lost its Biju and the Kazekage has nearly died. Of course, you already know this, as you were there. Now, the reason I'm mentioning all of this, is because even though our alliance has not been affected by the war so far, and our countries have been at peace, things might change very soon. When Seraphal informed me of what happened in the Land of Rivers with the Akatsuki and what you told her afterwards, I got very interested in the possible alliance with someone who can help us get through this, without being affected too much. Naruto listened to everything Kyuki said, and it didn't take him long to understand that Kyuki is interested in the alliance to protect her own country, as well as Wind and Wave. He smirked in his head, thinking about how to use this and see what he can get out of this. Once Kyuki finished with her speech, she went quiet and waited to hear what Alessandro has to say. Naruto kept quiet for a while, thinking about how to proceed with this, and what to say. Eventually, he spoke. If I got this right, you are interested in allying with me, to protect yourself and your original allies. Naruto spoke in a way that made it sound accusing, and in a way, it was, because Kyuki only spoke about what she, Wind and Wave would gain, but not what he and his country would gain. You never mentioned what I and my country would gain from this alliance. Kyuki realized that he was right, but she still raised her eyebrows in confusion. I thought that you were interested in the alliance, considering that you are the one who first mentioned it to Seraphal. Yes, Naruto said, but in every alliance, all sides get something. If I ally with you, your current alliance gets protection and help in case a war comes knocking on your doors. But the question still remains. What does my country get from this alliance? Okay, you are right, Kyuki said. So, what do you want? Well, Naruto spoke. The land of whirlpools is rich and is in a pretty nice spot as well as has a fertile land, so there is really nothing material which your countries can give me. I'm also not interested in you sending ninja and samurai to train people in my country, as we can do that ourselves. So, as you can see, there is really nothing I can think of that you can give me in order to enter into this alliance of yours. So, is there something that you can think of that I would be interested in? Naruto finally asked. Kyuki was very surprised by Alessandro. She didn't think that he would be this hard to agree to an alliance, especially since he was the one who first brought it out. Technically, she can understand that in a way, he is right. All members of the alliance should get something. That's how it's been so far in the current alliance she was a part of, and there is no reason for Alessandro's side not to get anything if he joins the alliance. The problem is that, as he said, the land of whirlpools seems to be very rich and fertile, so there is nothing she can give him to interest him in the alliance. Kyuki thought for a moment, wondering what she can give him. Eventually, she thought of something. Alessandro is the first one who brought about the talk about the alliance, and he must have known even back then that there was nothing she, Gaara and Tazuna can offer him, but he still came to talk, which means that he does have something he wants from them. The question now is, what that is. What is it that you actually want? Kyuki asked, getting raised eyebrows from everyone, including Alessandro. You are the one who first mentioned the alliance, and you must have known back then that we can't offer you anything, and yet, you still mentioned that alliance, and even showed up here. So, I think that there is something that you actually want. So what is it? Naruto smiled from ear to ear. So, you figured it out, he said, and everyone looked at him in shock. You are right. There is something I want and that all of you can give me. But before I tell you what it is, answer me a question. Kyuki looked at Alessandro with raised eyebrows, but nodded anyway. What is it that you think that I would want? Alessandro asked. Mind you, that country I'm building is rich and fertile, and I have about a dozen people who are S and SS rank in terms of power. Some, like me, are even stronger. So, what do you think that someone like me, who can take over the N if I want to, would want from someone like you, who is just one of many daimyo ruling over a part of the N? Everyone in the room was stunned, and more than a little but afraid because of what they just heard. If Alessandro is telling the truth and he can really take over the N as he says, then they are all doomed if he decides to do it. Fighting a group of people that powerful would be impossible, because all of the N combined, barely have 24 S-rank ninja and none SS rank, and half of them were with the Akatsuki. If Alessandro decides to start a war, it would be bloodbath and no one would be able to stop him. It was at that moment that Kyuki and Gaara decided to give to Alessandro anything he wants, if it means that they will keep him happy and not start the war which would lead to the end of the N as they currently are. I don't know, Kyuki said. Naruto smiled. I'm not surprised you can't guess. My desire is actually something that I'm sure many people in the N would want, but none of them would admit it. And then there is a fact that I would go differently about fulfilling my desire than they would. And what is your desire? Gaara asked. Union, Naruto said in one word, getting raised eyebrows from everyone. They didn't understand what he meant. Union of what? Kyuki asked. Of everything, Naruto said. As of right now, this entire continent is divided in many nations with many different people. They all want something that they don't have but someone else has, which always leads to war. The alliances are shit, and they never last. The peace that many speak about achieving is impossible, because true peace is not achievable, and as long as there is humanity, there never will be true peace. None in the room understood where Alessandro is going with this. But, while true peace is impossible, it is possible to achieve some kind of peace, and the only way to achieve peace of any kind is if the N cease to exist, and this entire continent becomes one big empire with one ruler standing at the top and keeping everything in line. Naruto looked around the room and saw wide-eyed looks on everyone's faces. They couldn't believe what they just heard, and thought that it was some kind of a joke. Why, you can't be serious, Kyuki said. You want to take over the EN, and make yourself a king. And emperor, Naruto said. But yes, the only way I can see to stop the wars, and bring some kind of peace to this god-forsaken land, is if I take over. If this entire continent is one big empire and not many small nations, ruled by different people, then there would be no reason for people to fight. Think about it, and tell me that I'm wrong, and that my plan is not going to come to be. Everyone in the room thought about it, and realized that there is some truth in Alessandro's words. If there are no different nations and hidden villages, then there would be no reason to fight. That still wouldn't work. Kyuki repeated the same thing that Tayuya brought up once Naruto first mentioned his plan. People and different nations would not like this, and there would be war. Many people would die, majority of which would be innocent. Naruto nodded. And that is the reason why I don't just go and kill everyone in my path until I take over. I know if I go that route, many would die. Then how do you plan to do it? Gaara asked. Naruto smirked. It's simple, he said. All I have to do, is to wait for the current war to end, and then convince the ones remaining that it's for their own good to simply fall in line. If that doesn't work, well there is always the painful way. That's not going to work, Gaara said. None of the current daimyo would just hand over their land to someone. The same goes for the hidden villages. Naruto smirked again. You underestimate the power of persuasion, and what true fear can make people do, he said. All I have to do is show my powers, and they would all piss in their pants. You don't have any power, came a voice from one of Kyuki's guards, making everyone look toward it. It came from one of the three men. Naruto looked at the man, and unlike the others in the room, he knew why he said that. Kyuki was surprised to hear one of her elite guards talking out of line like that, but she can't fault him, as the man must be angry and unnerved by everything that Alessandro said. What do you mean, he doesn't have any power? As you know, your majesty, the man spoke. I'm a sensory ninja, and I can feel the power of everyone here except his. Even civilians like Miss Tsunami have more power than he has. As for his companions, he was speaking the truth. I can feel the great power and they both are high S-rank ninja if not even higher. Everyone looked toward Alessandro, and noticed the smirk on his face. Is there a reason you are smirking? Gaara asked with narrowed eyes. I wouldn't be smirking if someone said I'm weaker than a civilian. Well, I'm not mad, as I don't see a reason to be. Naruto got raised eyebrows for his words. He, and anyone else for that matter, are incapable of sensing my power. It's literally impossible, and I can't be angry at him for that. What do you mean, I can't sense your power? The same guard asked. Why wouldn't I be? Naruto looked toward the floor and smirked. In the next instant, the pressure in the room went so high, that everyone who was standing fell on their ass, including Juvia and Suzumbachi. Those who were seating, were barely able to hold themselves on their chairs, and not slide off of them. Everyone was wide-eyed, and their eyes were looking around, searching for the source of the pressure. Their eyes were the only thing moving as the rest of their bodies felt like they weighted over a ton, and can't move a muscle because of that. You can't feel my power because I'm a transcendent being, Naruto spoke. That means that my power cannot be sensed unless I bring it down to your level of awareness, which is what I did right now. Everyone's eyes moved toward Alessandro, and looked at him in sheer fear. None of them, regardless if they are ninja, samurai or civilians, have ever felt a power this high, and are scared to hell. In fact, some of them feel like they would rather go in hell for the rest of eternity, than spend even one more second in the same room with Alessandro. Do you see now? Naruto asked. I have the power to destroy the N if I wanted to. In fact, when I first came here 3 years ago, all I wanted was to kill everyone, destroy this place and be done with it. But somehow, I stayed and ended up wanting to build a country. Now, I no longer wish to destroy everything, as I have found some things much more interesting than death and destruction, but I still want to take over the N and change the current system, and I will do it one way or another. The only question is, whether I will do it the easy way, or the destructive way. Naruto then rose his power back to its max, and the pressure in the room disappeared, allowing everyone to breathe normally again. It took several minutes for everyone in the room to gather themselves, and partly calm down, before they set back to their chairs. What are you? Gaara was the first to speak, and asked the question which was on everyone's minds. How can anyone be that powerful? Well, regular humans can't reach this level, Naruto said, getting raised eyebrows. But I'm not a regular human. I'm only half human. The other half is something called a hollow. Naruto then went and explained about the three worlds where the souls go after death, explained about what a hollow is and that he was born as a human, but became a hollow after death. He finished his explanation by explaining how he came back, though he didn't see a reason to say that a goddess sent him back and gave him another chance. Once he finished, Naruto noticed that everyone except Juvia and Suzumbachi were wide-eyed, and had their jaws on the floor. He smirked in his head, but on the outside he had straight face. He did understand their surprise though. Everything he told them was very hard to believe, and if he didn't show them his power earlier, he doubted that they would have believed him. After several minutes of silence, it was broken by Kayuki. Who were you before your death in this world? She asked. Naruto smirked. I was someone quite famous, or at least I became quite famous after my death. I was quite surprised when I heard that many didn't like how I died. Some even broke alliances because of my death. Once Naruto said this, Kayuki's, Gaara's and his siblings' eyes widened to epic proportions. They had a feeling they knew who Alessandro was, but they need confirmation. Are you? Kayuki started to ask. Are you Naruto Uzumaki? Naruto had a shit-eating grin on his face. That was the name I used to go by back then, he admitted, and caused pandemonium in the room. Everyone started talking with one another, wondering how this is possible, even though Naruto explained just few minutes ago how it was possible. It took several minutes for the noise to die down, but now, everyone was starting at Naruto. Are you really Naruto? Gaara asked. Naruto looked at Gaara and after a few seconds, he said. Partially. What does that mean? Gaara asked in confusion. I'm Naruto Uzumaki you knew, Naruto said, but at the same time, I'm not. I'm much different than I used to be back then. In what way? Kayuki asked. Mostly mentally, Naruto said. But I do look a lot differently as well. But anyway, I'm not that stupid brat I used to be. I don't give a shit if people like me or not. I don't care if they accept me or not. I don't have any desires to prove myself to anyone and became Hokage. Those were all the things the old me wanted. The current me has interests in other things. Like what? Kayuki asked. Well, you already know that I want to join all of the N into one empire, Naruto said, getting nods. Another thing I'm found myself very interested in, a woman. Everyone gave Naruto the looks that asked, are you stupid, which made Naruto smirk. Huko Mundo isn't exactly a place where you can find a woman interested in anything except battle and survival, Naruto spoke. The only thing hollows are interested in, regardless if they're male or female hollows, are survival and how to become stronger and advance. I have lived for over 1,000 years in that place, as 10 different hollows, but none of them have ever shown any interest in woman, or man, since one of my soul pieces ended up being female. When I came back here 3 years ago, even though I was half human half hollow, my mindset was mostly like that of a hollow, since I was a human for only 13 years, but hollow for over 1,000. I had no interest in women until not that long ago, but then one day I got interested and ever since, I found another thing to occupy my mind and time. No one said anything for a few seconds, before Kankuro said. I have to agree with you man, everyone looked at him. Women can certainly occupy someone's mind and time. Especially when they are beautiful. Gaara and Temari looked at their brother, and while Gaara appeared disinterested by what Kankuro said, Temari wasn't happy. Kankuro, Temari said, while holding her hand on her battle fan. Shut up, or I'll bitch slap you back to Suna. Kankuro paled, and said nothing. Naruto smirked at Kankuro. You still afraid of your sister, he said to Kankuro, who wisely kept quiet. You know, Shikamaru might have been onto something when he said that women are troublesome. Every woman in the room glared at Naruto, including Juvia and Suzumbachi. Then again, he did find everything except cloud gazing troublesome, so that might just be him. Naruto quickly found a way to save himself. He didn't want to face woman's wrath, even though he is stronger than all of them. All the women in the room smiled at Naruto's save, while the man groaned. They agreed with Naruto and Shikamaru, but they will never admit that out loud. After all, they are not suicidal. It took a little while, but in the end, everyone in the room accepted that Alessandro is Naruto. Why have you decided to go under a fake name? Kayuki asked. I didn't want anyone to know that I'm alive until the time was right, Naruto said. And since I look so much different than I used to, or am supposed to look if I never died, then no one even suspected that it was me all along. So, What do you plan to do now? Gaara asked. Naruto shrugged. As I said, my end goal is to turn all the N into one empire with me as the emperor. There would no longer be different nations ruled by different people. There would no longer be hidden villages who constantly fight over something. I know that even then, there will be some who will try something. Those are those who simply can't live in peace, but even then, things will be much better than they are now. Of that, I'm 100% sure. As of right now, I already have several countries under my rule. Everyone's eyes widened. Not that anyone but their leaders know about that, since it was decided to keep it a secret for a while. They are mostly smaller nations, but when you are not trying to raise alarms, you start small and go toward big as the time passes, and you gain ground. Which lands do you have under your control? Gaara asked. He was really curious about this. Land of rivers, land of birds, land of vegetables, land of sea, along with every land east of the land of water. Naruto said, and everyone's jaw dropped on the floor. They are currently watched over by my blood clones who either work with the daimyo of those lands, or have simply become the leaders themselves. Now, I don't have a problem with killing, but I want to avoid that, and make my job easier, which is why I'm letting this war go as it does. Once it's over, it will be much easier for me to take over. Wait a minute, Temari said. Are you telling me that you could have ended the war already but you didn't? That's right, Naruto said. I could have ended the Akatsuki from the start, but I didn't as I'm simply too curious to see what they actually want to do once they have all tailed beasts. As for the other sides, I will simply allow them to kill each other, and then swoop in, and take over. And then there is your alliance. I actually care about you, as you were friends when I was still a regular human. You even went as far as to end alliances with the Land of Fire and Leaf Village, just because of what they've done to me, and for that, I'm grateful. It is for that reason, that I even told Seraphal to tell you that I'm interested in allying with you. I want to save your side as much as possible, but that is all under the condition that once the time comes, I won't have any opposition from your side in taking over. Once Naruto finished with his explanation, he looked around to see the reactions of the people in the room. He was not surprised when he saw that Gaara and all the others he saw as friends had pensive looks on their faces, but he could also tell that they were not happy with Naruto's offer and his plan. As for Kyuki's guards, they all have masks, so he can't see their faces, but he can tell that some of them have their hands on their swords. Seraphal didn't have a mask, so Naruto could see her face. He saw that she was looking at Kyuki, and waited for her reaction, but he can tell that she is tense, just like the rest of the Guardians. Listen, Naruto, Gaara spoke. Even if I was to agree with your plan and stand by your side, I know that people of Suna will not be happy about that. I don't even want to talk about the Wind Daimyo. He will not hand over his land to anyone, regardless of their reason. The same goes for the other nations, and the daimyos, Kyuki added. I trust you, even though you have changed a lot, and I want to believe that what you plan to do is for the good of everyone. The problem is that the other nations will not see it the same way you do, and will simply see you as usurper. Someone who came and plans to take over something which has never been his. Isn't that what the En are always doing? Naruto asked, getting raised eyebrows. For a long time, they have been fighting amongst each other, to gain more land which has never been theirs to begin with. So what makes what I want to do, any different than what they've been doing all this time? Why would I be seen as a villain, but they are not? That may be true, Gaara said. But aren't you better than that? Aren't you the one who used to say that everyone should work together toward betterment of the En? You still don't understand, do you? Naruto questioned Gaara, getting raised eyebrows from him. I'm no longer the same Naruto you knew. Not physically, nor mentally. For you here, it has been 3 years since my death, but for me it has been over 1,000 years. 1,000 years of life in a place that makes Wind Country look like a tropical paradise. 1,000 years of fighting for my life against beasts just like me. Do you really think that after all that, I would still be the same idiotic, orange-loving Naruto? The long life has taught me many things, Gaara. One of those things is that true peace doesn't exist, and that people will never be able to completely understand each other to the point that they won't fight anymore and will agree to live in peace and harmony. All the different beings in all the worlds. They all have one thing in common, and that is that they all want something which they can't have, and because of that, they fight. It has always been that way, and it will be that way until the end of times. Do you understand now, Gaara? What the old me wanted is something that he would have never been able to achieve. But what the current me wants, is achievable. Another round of silence spread around the room, as everyone thought about Naruto's words. Some of them knew that what Naruto said is true, and they are not going to deny that, while others, even though deep down they also knew that it's the truth, they will not admit it. How far would you go to get what you want? Kyuki asked. Naruto shrugged. As far as necessary, he said. I do not wish to kill unless it's necessary, nor do I want to send those who work for me to kill. But, if it's needed, then I will raise the end to the ground, and then rebuild what's left of it. One thing is certain. Once I'm finished, the EN will be unrecognizable. Around mid-afternoon, Naruto and the Alliance gathered again in the meeting room, everyone seating at the same place they did yesterday. The only ones missing were the two guards who are still frozen in Kyuki's room. It looks like they will stay like that for a while, as Seraphal and Kyuki don't seem to be very forgiving, even though they had a very good reason to burst into Kyuki's room like that. Once everyone has gathered, those who didn't know what happened this morning were curious about the looks on the faces of Naruto and his companions, along with Kyuki and Seraphal. Tsunami, even though was able to get back to the land of consciousness, was still very tired, judging by the bags under her eyes, and had a large blush on her face, much to her son's and father's curiosity. The two wanted to ask what happened, but for some reason they felt like they don't want to know. They felt like that if they ask and learn what happened, they will never be able to forget it for the rest of their lives. Answer, the two males decided to let it go. As everyone who is important was there, the meeting to decide how to proceed with the possible alliance has started. So, what have you decided? Naruto asked, while looking from Kyuki to Gaara. Gaara was deep in thought. He seemed like he still hasn't decided on what to do. On one hand, Naruto is his friend, and the first person who truly understood him and helped him when no one else did. But on the other hand, what Naruto wants to do is something no one has ever thought about doing, and he isn't sure if he himself is agreeing with Naruto's plans. He isn't sure that Naruto's plan is as good as it sounds, and has a feeling that in the end, if Naruto goes through with it, it will cause even more bloodshed. On top of that, while Gaara knew the old Naruto and saw him as a friend, this new Naruto is an enigma, an unknown. Gaara isn't sure he can trust him. Then there is a question of, what will the people in Suna and the Land of Wind say if he was to agree with Naruto's plan? Will they agree with him or will they turn against him, and side with the Wind Daimyo, who Gaara knows for sure that will not accept Naruto's offer and will fight against him to the end? While Gaara was still unsure about what to do, Kyuki has decided, and what she saw this morning, has only made her realize that her decision is good. Then there is Tazuna. Even though he and his land are the least important in the alliance, they still have a vote and the right to decide on what to do. In Tazuna's eyes, Naruto has changed a lot, which is not surprising considering what he has been though. There is also the fact that Inari still sees Naruto as a big brother figure, and Tsunami quite likes the guy. Poor Tazuna has no idea how much Tsunami likes Naruto, or part of Naruto at the very least. Tazuna also feels like he owes Naruto for everything he has done for the Land of Waves, and he knows that the people of the wave feel the same. As such, Tazuna has decided to accept Naruto's offer, and plans to ask Naruto if the people of the Land of Waves can move to Whirlpool, as their lives there will be much better than in their current home. Since Gaara was still thinking, Tazuna spoke first. I have decided to accept your offer, Tazuna said, drawing the eyes of everyone on him and his family. We are a small country, as such, we have always had problems with how we live and with others trying to use us in any way they wish. You on the other hand, we trust you, the same with the people of Wave. You have done a lot for us, and we feel like we owe you, which is why I have decided to accept your offer. I also know that the people of Wave will agree with my decision. Naruto was happy with Tazuna's decision, and smiled at him. Thank you for trusting in me, Tazuna, Naruto said. And I promise to help your people as soon as possible. Tazuna nodded. There is a way to help us right now, Tazuna said, making Naruto raise his eyebrows, as he didn't know what Tazuna meant. The others in the room knew what Tazuna was going to say, so they kept quiet and listened. And what way is that? Naruto asked. Before your companions arrived here yesterday, we have already gathered to talk about what to do with the current war, and how to protect ourselves, Tazuna spoke, and Naruto nodded. But, I also wanted to speak about something else. You see, the people of the Land of Waves are in danger in this war. Even though we are in this alliance, we are the weakest link, and in the case we are attacked, we won't last long, even with the help of wind and spring. On top of that, the people of the land of waves can only live of the sea products, and fishing. Everything else, we have to pay for, and even with the bridge, and the lower costs of transportation, the food still costs us a lot. As such, I have come here to ask Daimyo Kiyuki if the people from my country can move to the land of springs and live here from now on. Tazuna's words really surprised Naruto. He knew that the land of waves is a small island and that the people there are poor and only live off of fishing, but he didn't know that the situation is that bad. It did bring the question in Naruto's mind though. Where was Tazuna going with this? If he was here to talk to Kiyuki about the relocation to the land of springs, then what can Naruto do about it, since as of right now, Kiyuki still didn't voice her decision? And what can I do about that? Naruto asked. Yesterday, when your companions brought the message, Kiyuki mentioned that in the case that the alliance is made with your country, then the people of Wave might be able to move to your new country, instead here in the land of springs, Tazuna said, and Naruto raised his eyebrows. Since your country is new, you will most likely need people to live there, and the people of the land of waves can be those people. Relocating to your country from R will be much easier than relocating all the way here. Naruto thought about Tazuna's question. Tazuna was right, Naruto's country does need people to live in it, and it is also the truth that relocation of those people will be easier if they move to his country, than here in the land of springs, which would be a long walk from the land of waves. If they were to move to his land, Naruto knew that his country would gain people to live in, and people to work in the rebuilding of the country. He would also be able to start a new seafood shipping company, which he can't start before he finds people who are good at fishing, and the people of Wave are the best. With Tazuna in his country, Naruto would also be able to start a school where Tazuna can teach people the construction, and from there, the country can also start a construction company, which will have a lot of work once the war is over, and Naruto takes over the EN. Taking all of this into consideration, Naruto has made a decision. You are right, Tazuna, Naruto spoke. My country does need people to live in it, and while we have brought many so far, we still need more, and have room for more, along with room to build more houses. As such, I accept your request to move people of the land of waves to the newly rebuilt land of whirlpools. Naruto's acceptance brought smiles on the faces of Tazuna and his family, who thanked Naruto. Tsunami even managed to send a wink at Naruto, which was, thankfully, only seen by him. We need to talk a little bit more about this after the meeting, so that we can see when the moving will be and how to do it. Naruto said, and Tazuna agreed. With Tazuna's problem solved, it was now up to Kiyuki to voice her decision about Naruto's offer. Since everyone knew that, they all looked at Kiyuki and waited to hear her decision. 3 of her guards, though, were tense, as they didn't know about Kiyuki's decision. Seraphal knew, but her face didn't reveal anything, while the last 2 guards were still frozen inside Kiyuki's room. Kiyuki saw that everyone was looking at her, and realized that it's finally her chance to voice her decision. She took a deep breath, gathered her courage, which she will need for what she was about to say, and opened her mouth. I have made my decision, Kiyuki said. I have thought about what Naruto said, and about pros and cons of his plan, and have decided to accept his offer and have the land of spring become a part of his new empire once it's built. Many were surprised by her decision. The ones who aren't were Seraphal, as she already knew, and Naruto, who was expecting this. But, Kiyuki spoke again, drawing the attention back at her and quieting everyone's murmurs. On one condition. And what condition is that? Naruto asked. He thought he could guess what she wants, but he still decided to just wait and see. He could be wrong, and it wouldn't do him well to just say something and be wrong, which would be embarrassing. Kiyuki blushed some more for a second, before she coughed into her hand, and said, I want to become your wife, she said, and watched as several people had their jaws unhinged at her request. If you take me as your wife, I will have my country become part of your empire. If not, well then we will not, and that's that. Naruto was right. He knew exactly what Kiyuki was going to ask, so he wasn't surprised. Once he heard her condition, he smiled widely, and said, I accept. In fact, even if this wasn't your condition, I would still want you to become one of my wives. Several people choked on their spit once they heard that Naruto accepted just like that, and what he said after. What do you mean, one of your wives? Surprisingly, or not so much, it was Temari who asked this. I want to create a clan of human, hollow hybrids, Naruto said. Now, I could do that with one wife, and start slowly, but since there are already so many women interested in me, why chose only one, when I can have all of them? So you are a pervert, Temari accused him with narrowed eyes. Naruto shrugged. Everyone is a little bit of a pervert, regardless if they are male or female. Some just show that openly, while the rest keep it hidden. I'm not like Jiraiya is. I don't spy on the woman in hot springs, and I don't write smut books. I do love women though, and if that makes me a pervert in your eyes, then so be it. I don't really care, and apparently, neither do the women who've been with me so far. Naruto then looked at Kayuki. What about you, princess? Naruto asked, making Kayuki blush. Do you have a problem with me having multiple wives? Now, Kayuki would like to say that she does have a problem, as she would want Naruto all to herself, and for Seraphal. But then, she is a nice person, and she couldn't lie. While she would want Naruto only for herself and Seraphal to share him between them, she is bisexual, and just by looking at Juvia and Suzumbachi, she wishes to have a go at them. If she was to accept that Naruto was to have multiple women, then one day, she might have a chance to sleep with the two beauties, and possibly with even more women just as beautiful as the two of them. Images of a bunch of women completely gnarred and sweaty lying in Naruto's bed, along with gnarred Naruto with a huge hard-on, came at the front of her mind, and made her blush and her panties got damp in an instant. She quickly hid her face, and coughed a little. Finally, she said, I accept, Kayuki said. I can't say that it's what I wanted, but I accept. Naruto smiled, while many others were surprised that a daimyo like Kayuki would agree to share a guy with other women. The most surprised were Temari and two female guards. In their eyes, a man should only belong to one woman, and even one more is one too many. I'm happy you accepted, Naruto said to Kayuki with a smile on his face, before he looked at Gaara, and waited to hear what he has to say. Seeing that he was the only one left to voice his decision, Gaara sighed, and spoke. It was a hard decision for me to make, Gaara said. On one hand, I want to trust you, Naruto, that what you plan to do is a good thing, and because of that, I want to help you. But on the other hand, what you plan to do, not many people are going to like it. I know that Wind Daimyo won't, and that he will be against you. The one thing I don't know is how the people of Suna will react. If I was to tell them about this, will they agree with you, or will they think that you are just another person who is trying to take over the N and rule it? If they come to that conclusion, they will side with the Wind Daimyo and turn against me, which would mean that I will no longer be Kazekage, and will have no say in the way Suna acts. As such, I will have to decline your offer, for now. I will have to wait to see how will the things in the end develop, and wait to see how you proceed. Once you start your conquest, the word will most certainly reach Suna, and once it does, I will be able to see how the people react to it, and then make my decision. Everyone in the room listened to Gaara's explanation, and once he was finished, Naruto and Kayuki sighed. They figured out that Gaara will most likely refuse, because unlike Kayuki he is not the leader of his own country, and many in the Land of Wind don't like Gaara. As for Tazuna, while he is not the leader of the Land of Waves, the people there will be moving to the new whirlpool, and as such, he knows that they will be happy with his decision, especially, since to the people of Wave, Naruto is a hero. The same goes for the people of Spring. No one in those two countries will have anything against Naruto, no matter what he does, unless of course he goes on a killing spree of the people of those two countries, and that is something which will never happen. In the Land of Wind, Naruto is known as the guy who changed Gaara for the better, and for that he had the respect of the people there, but he hasn't done for Suna as much as he has for Wave and Spring, and because of that, Naruto, while respected and liked, is not loved in Suna. If that is your decision, then I will respect it, Naruto said. The question remains though, what will happen with this alliance you had so far? With the people of Wave now moving to the new whirlpool, they will no longer be in the alliance, and since Gaara has decided not to accept my offer, what will happen with the alliance? I have nothing against the alliance staying as it is, with the only difference being that Wave will no longer be in it, Gaara suggested. Wind and Spring can still stay in the alliance, officially, while New Whirlpool can be the third ally, but since you are still trying to stay in the shadows, you will be a secret partner. No one will know about you and your country, and no one will know that the people of Wave moved to your country, and in case we are attacked, you can help, if you want of course. If the alliance was to fall apart, then many would start asking question, in all countries, and that might not be a good idea. Naruto shrugged. I'm fine with that, he said. Though, people will still ask, what happened to the people of Wave and where they went to? How will you explain that? If someone asks questions, we can just say that they moved here, Kyuki said. Tazuna's original plan was for them to move here, so it might actually work. It's not like that other countries will bother to find out, or they'd be able to come here and check out if it's the truth. That's why we have high security around the capital, so that no one who is not allowed would be able to come in. Your people will still know that we are not here, Tazuna spoke. How will you explain that? My people trust me, so if I tell them what's going on, they will be on board with it, and will know what to do, in case someone does come and start asking questions, Kyuki said. I will also inform my people that I will be marrying, but I will keep it a secret on who I'm marrying for now. Are you really sure that they will like this? Naruto asked. I don't want some of them to turn against you and try something. They seem to be very protective of you and they might try something to find out who you are marrying. Not to mention that fact that they will not know who the leader of the new whirlpool is, since you are only going to mention that we are in the alliance, but not who I am and why it is important to keep my country's existence a secret. Kyuki smiled because of Naruto's worry, but she told him that there is no reason to worry, as she will be fine. She is completely sure that no one will try anything, and in case someone does, they will not be a big problem to deal with. Naruto nodded, but he still decided to leave someone in the land of springs and watch over everything. Who he will leave, he will decide it later. Since everyone from the original Wind Wave Spring Alliance has voiced the decisions about Naruto's offer, the meeting was mostly over, but they still stayed to talk about some other stuff, and what they will all do from now on. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.